The rain battered the windows of the old Victorian house, each drop a hammer against Ellie's heart. She sat on the floor, clutching a worn photo of her and Sarah, their smiles frozen in a moment when the world felt whole. Now Sarah was gone, taken by a cruel twist of fate, and Ellie was left to drown in the silence of their empty home. Ellie's fingers traced the edges of the photo, her wife's laughter echoing in her mind like a melody she'd never hear again. Sarah had been her anchor, her light, the woman who made every storm bearable. They'd built a life together in this sleepy Oregon town, defying whispers and sideways glances with their love. But cancer didn't care about love. It stole Sarah in 6 brutal months, leaving Ellie at 28, a widow with nothing but memories and a golden retriever named Max. Max patted over, his warm muzzle nudging her hand. His collar jangled softly, a sound that used to mean walks in the park with Sarah laughing beside her. Now it was a reminder of what she'd lost. Ellie buried her face in his fur, tears soaking into his golden coat. "You're all I have left, buddy," she whispered. But even Max wasn't safe. Sarah's family, her estranged conservative parents, had descended like vultures, claiming everything in the will, including Max. They were coming tomorrow, armed with lawyers and righteousness, to take him away. Ellie's phone buzzed on the hardwood floor. A text from her best friend, Mia. "They can't take him. We'll fight this. Stay strong." Mia, fierce and unapologetic, had been their rock through Sarah's illness. She was the only one who understood the depth of Ellie's grief, the only one who didn't flinch at their love. But even Mia couldn't stop the legal machine Sarah's parents had unleashed. The will was clear. Sarah's assets, including Max, went to her family. Ellie wasn't legally recognized as Sarah's spouse in their small town's eyes. Not when they'd married in a quiet ceremony 2 years ago, before Oregon fully embraced same-sex marriage. The paperwork was a mess, their union a gray area. Sarah's parents, who disowned her for loving Ellie, now saw a chance to erase their daughter's choices. They didn't just want Max. They wanted to unravel everything Sarah had stood for. Ellie stood, her legs shaky, and walked to the kitchen. The house smelled of Sarah, lavender candles and cedarwood. She poured a glass of wine, her hands trembling. The clock ticked toward midnight, each second a countdown to the confrontation. She didn't know how to fight people who saw her love as a sin, but she knew she couldn't lose Max. He was more than a dog. He was Sarah's heart, her final gift. A memory flashed. Sarah, weak from chemo, whispering to Max as she fastened a new tag on his collar. "You keep our secrets, don't you, boy?" she'd said, her smile faint but real. Ellie hadn't thought much of it then, but now it gnawed at her. What secrets? Sarah had always been full of surprises. Notes hidden in books, spontaneous road trips, but this felt different. Heavier. Ellie knelt beside Max, her fingers brushing his collar. The tag was simple, engraved with his name and their address. But as she turned it over, something caught her eye, a tiny, almost invisible latch. Her heart skipped. She pressed it, and a small compartment clicked open, revealing a folded slip of paper. Her breath caught. Sarah's handwriting stared back at her, bold and unmistakable. "For Ellie when they come for him." Her hand shook as she unfolded the note. It was a letter, written in Sarah's hurried scrawl, each word a lifeline. "My love, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And they're trying to take everything. Don't let them. Max isn't just ours, he's proof. Check the safe in our room. Code 0923. I love you forever." Ellie's pulse raced. The safe. They'd bought it for important documents, birth certificates, their unofficial marriage license. But Sarah had never mentioned anything else. What proof? What was Sarah hiding? She glanced at Max, who tilted his head, his eyes steady. Whatever this was, it was her last connection to Sarah, her last chance to fight. She ran upstairs, the floorboards creaking under her weight. The safe was tucked behind their wedding photo, a small black box that blended into the shadows. Her fingers fumbled with the code, 0923, their anniversary. The lock clicked and the door swung open. Inside was a single USB drive, labeled in Sarah's handwriting. For Ellie. Her heart pounded as she grabbed her laptop, plugging in the drive. A video file popped up, titled "To My Family." Ellie's breath hitched. She clicked play and Sarah's face filled the screen, pale, tired, but fierce. "If you're watching this," Sarah's voice said, "you're trying to take what's ours. You won't. I've made sure of it." Ellie's tears fell as Sarah's words washed over her. The video was a bombshell, a defiance of her family's cruelty, a love letter to Ellie wrapped in a plan. Sarah had known her parents would come for everything. She'd prepared for it. The USB held more than a video. There were documents, emails, proof of their life together, proof that Max was Ellie's, proof that their love was real. But the video cut off abruptly, Sarah's last words hanging in the air. "Ellie, find the lawyer in Portland. She knows." The screen went black, leaving Ellie staring at her reflection. A lawyer? Portland? Her mind spun. She didn't know who this lawyer was, but Sarah had left her a path. A fight. The doorbell rang, sharp and jarring. Ellie froze. It was too early for Sarah's parents. They weren't due until morning. She crept downstairs, Max at her heels, and peered through the peephole. Mia stood on the porch, soaked from the rain, her expression grim. "Ellie, open the door. It's worse than we thought." Ellie swung the door open, her heart in her throat. "What's happening?" Mia stepped inside, shaking water from her jacket. "Sarah's parents aren't just coming for Max. They're suing for the house. They're saying you coerced Sarah into everything. Your marriage, the will, all of it." Ellie's knees buckled. She sank onto the couch, Max pressing against her. "How can they do this? They didn't even speak to her for years." Mia's eyes burned. "They're claiming you manipulated her. They've got a lawyer who's tearing through every detail of your life. But we're not letting them win. What's on that USB?" Ellie recounted the video, the note, the lawyer in Portland. Mia's jaw tightened. "Then we go to Portland. Tomorrow. We find this lawyer and we fight." Ellie nodded, her grief hardening into resolve. Sarah had left her a weapon. A secret hidden in Max's collar. She wouldn't let her wife's family erase their love. Not Max, not the house, not their story. The rain outside roared louder, but for the first time since Sarah's death, Ellie felt a spark of hope. She wasn't alone. She had Mia, Max, and Sarah's voice guiding her from beyond. The road to Portland was a blur of gray skies and wet asphalt. Ellie gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, while Mia sat in the passenger seat, scrolling through her phone for any clue about the mysterious lawyer. Max lay curled in the back seat, his steady breathing a small comfort in the chaos. Ellie's mind churned with Sarah's video, her voice looping like a lifeline. "Find the lawyer in Portland. She knows." They'd left at dawn, the USB drive tucked safely in Ellie's pocket. The house felt like a battlefield now, with Sarah's parents due to arrive by noon. Ellie had locked the door and left a note. "Gone to handle business. Don't touch anything." She knew it wouldn't stop them, but it bought her time. Time to find answers. Mia glanced up, her dark eyes sharp. "I found a name, Claire Nguyen. She's a lawyer in Portland who specializes in family law and LGBTQ rights. Sarah mentioned her once, didn't she? At that fundraiser last year." Ellie's memory sparked. The fundraiser. A crowded room, Sarah radiant in a blue dress, talking passionately about legal protections for same-sex couples. Claire had been there, a petite woman with a fierce handshake, promising to help if they ever needed it. Ellie's heart lifted. That's her. It has to be. The city loomed ahead, its skyline cutting through the mist. Portland was a world away from their small town, a place where Ellie and Sarah had once dreamed of starting over, free from judgment. Now it was Ellie's last hope. She parked outside a sleek office building, its glass facade reflecting the stormy sky. Max whined softly, sensing her tension. Inside, Claire Nguyen's office was warm, cluttered with books and framed photos of smiling families. Claire herself was a force, mid-30s, sharp suit, eyes that missed nothing. "Ellie," she said, standing to greet them. "I've been expecting you." Ellie froze. "You have?" Claire nodded, her expression softening. "Sarah called me a month before she passed. She told me everything, her family, the will, Max. She knew they'd come for you. She made me promise to help." Ellie's throat tightened. Sarah had planned for this even as she was dying. She handed Claire the USB drive, her hands trembling. "This is what she left me. There's a video, documents, I don't know what it all means yet. Claire plugged the drive into her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The video played again, Sarah's voice filling the room. Ellie's chest ached at the sight of her wife, so alive, so determined. When the video ended, Claire opened the other files. Emails, financial records, a notarized letter. Her eyes widened. This is gold, Ellie. Sarah was meticulous. She documented everything. What does it prove? Mia asked, leaning forward. Claire's smile was sharp. It proves Sarah's parents have no claim. The house, Max, your life together. It's all protected. Sarah set up a trust, naming you as the beneficiary. She hid it from her family, knowing they'd fight it. The letter in Max's collar was her failsafe, in case they tried to bury the truth. Ellie's head spun. A trust? Sarah had never mentioned it. But that was Sarah, always thinking 3 steps ahead, always protecting her. So they can't take Max? Or the house? Not if we play this right, Claire said. But it won't be easy. Sarah's parents have a high-powered lawyer, and they're claiming you coerced her into the marriage. They're dragging your name through the mud. Mia slammed her hand on the desk. They're lying. Ellie and Sarah were everything to each other. I know, Claire said calmly. But we need more than love to win this. We need strategy. Sarah's documents are a start, but we'll need witnesses, character statements, proof of your life together. And we need to move fast. They're filing for an injunction to seize the house tomorrow. Ellie's stomach dropped. Tomorrow. She pictured Sarah's parents storming into their home, tearing through their memories. What do we do? Claire leaned forward, her voice steady. We build a case. I'll file a counterclaim, using Sarah's trust and these documents. You and Mia gather anyone who can vouch for your relationship. Friends, neighbors, coworkers. We'll show the court who Sarah really was, and who you were to her. Ellie nodded, her resolve hardening. She thought of their life together, late-night talks, stolen kisses, the way Sarah's laugh could light up a room. She wouldn't let that be erased. What about the video? Can we use it? Claire hesitated. It's powerful, but it's personal. If we play it in court, it'll be public record. Sarah's family will twist it, make it about her illness, not her love. We'll save it for the right moment. Mia stood, pacing. What about Max? They're coming for him today. Claire's eyes narrowed. They won't get him. The trust names Ellie as his guardian. I'll draft an emergency motion to block any attempt to take him. But Ellie, you need to keep him safe. Don't let them near him. Ellie glanced at Max, who was sprawled by the door, oblivious to the storm around him. She felt a surge of protectiveness. They'll have to go through me first. The drive back was tense, the weight of Claire's words settling over them. Ellie's mind raced with names. Friends who'd celebrated their wedding, neighbors who'd brought casseroles during Sarah's illness. They'd all seen the truth of their love. But would it be enough? As they pulled into the driveway, Ellie's heart sank. A sleek black SUV was parked outside, and 2 figures stood on the porch, Sarah's parents, Margaret and Robert. Margaret's face was pinched, her eyes cold. Robert, tall and imposing, held a leash, as if Max was already theirs. Ellie parked and stepped out, Max's leash tight in her hand. Mia flanked her, a silent shield. What are you doing here? Ellie asked, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. Margaret's smile was venomous. We're here for what's ours. The dog, the house, everything Sarah was too weak to protect. Ellie's blood boiled. Sarah wasn't weak. She was stronger than you'll ever know. Robert stepped forward, his voice low. You're not her family, Ellie. You never were. Give us the dog and we'll make this easy. Max growled softly, sensing the tension. Ellie tightened her grip on his leash, Sarah's note burning in her mind. You're not taking him. You're not taking anything. Margaret's eyes narrowed. We'll see about that. Our lawyer's already at the courthouse. You can't win this, Ellie. Mia stepped forward, her voice like steel. Get off her property. Now. The standoff lasted seconds, but it felt like hours. Finally, Margaret and Robert turned, climbing into their SUV. As they drove off, Ellie's knees buckled. Mia caught her, pulling her into a hug. We've got this, Mia whispered. Sarah's got this. Ellie clung to her, Max pressing against her legs. Sarah's secret was their weapon, but the fight was just beginning. She looked at the house, their sanctuary, and vowed to protect it. For Sarah. For them. The next morning, Ellie woke to the sound of Max's soft snores. She hadn't slept much, her dreams haunted by Sarah's voice and her parents' cold stares. The USB drive sat on the nightstand, a lifeline she clung to. Today was about building their case, gathering the army Claire needed to fight Sarah's family. Mia arrived early, coffee in hand and a notebook full of names. "I called everyone I could think of," she said, spreading papers across the kitchen table. "The Millers, who hosted your engagement party. Tom from the bookstore, who always saved Sarah's favorite novels. Even Mrs. Carter, who baked you that awful fruitcake." Ellie managed a small smile. Sarah loved that fruitcake. Mia snorted. Sarah loved everything. That's why people loved her back. Her voice softened. "They'll show up for you, Ellie. For both of you." They spent the morning making calls, each conversation a bittersweet reminder of Sarah's impact. The Millers cried, promising to testify about the love they'd seen at the engagement party. Tom offered to bring photos from their book club nights, where Sarah and Ellie had argued over Jane Austen with matching grins. Mrs. Carter, voice quivering, said she'd never forget how Ellie cared for Sarah during her illness, bringing her soup every week. By noon they had a list of 10 witnesses, each ready to paint a picture of a love that defied Sarah's parents' lies. But Ellie's stomach churned. Would it be enough? Sarah's parents weren't just fighting for Max or the house. They were fighting to erase her, to rewrite their daughter's story. Claire called as they were eating lunch, her voice brisk. "I've filed the counterclaim. The trust is airtight, but Sarah's parents are digging into your past, Ellie. They're claiming you pressured Sarah into the marriage, that you were after her money." Ellie's fork clattered to the plate. "Money? Sarah was a teacher. We were barely scraping by." "Doesn't matter," Claire said. "They're spinning a narrative. They've got a private investigator looking into your life. Your job, your friends, even your college years. We need to be ready." Ellie's chest tightened. She'd grown up poor, worked her way through college, and landed a job as a graphic designer. She and Sarah had built their life on love, not money. The idea of someone twisting that made her sick. "What do we do?" "Stay focused," Claire said. "Keep Max safe. Gather those statements. I'm working on getting the trust certified by the court. And Ellie, don't talk to Sarah's parents. They'll try to bait you." Ellie hung up, her hands shaking. Mia reached across the table, squeezing her arm. "They're scared, Ellie. They know Sarah chose you. That's why they're doing this." Ellie nodded, but the weight of it all pressed down. She looked at Max, who was chewing a toy by the window. His collar glinted, a reminder of Sarah's plan. She had to trust it. That afternoon they visited the Millers, whose cozy farmhouse was filled with photos of Sarah and Ellie, laughing at barbecues, dancing at their wedding. "Sarah was so proud of you," Mrs. Miller said, handing Ellie a stack of letters Sarah had written her. "She said you were her home." Ellie's eyes burned as she read the letters, Sarah's words vivid and alive. "Ellie's my everything, Mrs. M. I don't care what my parents say. She's my family." Each word was a brick in their defense, proof of a love that couldn't be undone. But as they drove back, Ellie's phone buzzed with a voicemail from an unknown number. She played it and Margaret's voice filled the car, cold and sharp. "Ellie, you can't hide from us. We know the truth about you. Give us the dog or we'll make this worse." Mia grabbed the phone. "Don't call her back. That's what they want." Ellie's heart pounded. "What truth? I've got nothing to hide." Mia's jaw tightened. "They're bluffing. They're trying to scare you. But we need to be careful. They're not above playing dirty." That night Ellie couldn't sleep. She sat on the couch, Max curled beside her and opened her laptop. The USB drive held more than the video and documents. There were photos, hundreds of them. Sarah and Ellie at the beach, at pride parades, at home with Max. Each one was a memory, a piece of their life. But one photo stopped her cold. Sarah sitting on their porch, writing in a journal Ellie had never seen. She tore through the house, searching for it. Under the bed, in the closet, behind books. Finally, in a drawer of Sarah's old sweaters, she found it. A leather-bound journal, its pages filled with Sarah's handwriting. The last entry was dated a week before her death. Ellie, if they come for you, don't give up. I've left you everything you need. Max knows. Claire knows. I love you. Ellie's tears fell onto the page. Sarah had known her parents would do this. She'd planned for every move. But what else was in the journal? Ellie flipped through it, finding lists, dates, even a phone number labeled backup. Her heart raced. Was this another piece of the puzzle? She called Claire, reading her the entry. Claire's voice was urgent. That number, call it. Now. It could be someone Sarah trusted, someone who can help. Ellie dialed, her hands shaking. A woman answered, her voice warm but cautious. Hello. This is Ellie, Sarah's wife. She left your number in her journal. A pause then. I'm Rachel, Sarah's cousin. She told me you might call. Ellie's breath caught. Sarah's cousin? She'd never mentioned a Rachel. What did she tell you? Rachel's voice softened. Everything. She said her parents would try to take Max, the house, your life. She asked me to help you. I've got something you need to see. Ellie's pulse raced. Another secret. Another piece of Sarah's plan. Can you meet us tomorrow? Yes, Rachel said. But be careful. My aunt and uncle are ruthless. They'll do anything to win. As Ellie hung up, Mia looked at her, eyes wide. What's going on? Ellie clutched the journal, Max's collar jangling as he shifted. Sarah's still fighting for us. And she's not done yet. The meeting with Rachel was set for a small cafe in Portland, a neutral ground away from the suffocating tension of Ellie's hometown. Ellie and Mia arrived early, Max at their side, his presence a quiet anchor. The cafe buzzed with life, baristas calling orders, students typing on laptops, but Ellie's focus was razor-sharp. Rachel was a wild card, a piece of Sarah's past Ellie had never known. What did she have? And why had Sarah kept her a secret? Rachel walked in, a woman in her early 30s with Sarah's green eyes and a cautious smile. She carried a manila envelope, its edges worn. Ellie, she said, sitting across from them. I'm so sorry about Sarah. She was everything. Ellie nodded, her throat tight. You knew her well? Rachel's eyes softened. We were close as kids before her parents cut me off too. I came out as bi years ago and they didn't take it well. Sarah reached out last year. Said she needed someone in the family she could trust. Mia leaned forward. Trust with what? Rachel slid the envelope across the table. This. Sarah sent it to me before she got too sick. She said it was insurance, in case her parents tried to erase you. Ellie opened the envelope, her hands trembling. Inside were letters, photos, and a notarized document, a second copy of the trust Claire had mentioned, but with an addendum. Sarah had named Rachel as a co-executor, someone to ensure Ellie's rights were protected. There was also a letter addressed to Ellie in Sarah's familiar scrawl. My love, if Rachel's with you, you're safe. She knows who I was. She knows us. Ellie's eyes burned. Sarah had built a fortress around their life, even as her own was fading. Why didn't she tell me about you? Rachel sighed. She wanted to protect you. She knew her parents would come after anyone who helped you. I've been hiding from them, living out of state. But I'm here now. Mia's eyes narrowed. What else is in there? Rachel pulled out a photo, a young Sarah and Rachel, arms around each other, laughing at a family reunion. On the back, Sarah had written, before they tore us apart. There were also emails printed out between Sarah and her parents. They were brutal. Accusations, ultimatums, demands that Sarah leave Ellie. Sarah's responses were calm but firm, defending her love, her life. This is evidence, Rachel said. Proof they disowned her long before she got sick. It shows their motive isn't love, it's control. Ellie's heart raced. This was more than she'd hoped for. With Rachel's testimony, the trust, and Sarah's letters, they could dismantle her parents' lies. But a nagging fear lingered. What if they twist this too? They're saying I coerced her, that our marriage wasn't real. Rachel's jaw tightened. They can try. But Sarah was clear. She loved you, Ellie. She chose you. And she made sure you'd have everything you need to fight. Mia tapped the table. We need to get this to Claire. Now. They drove to Claire's office, the envelope burning a hole in Ellie's bag. Claire's eyes lit up as she read through the documents. This is a game changer, she said. With Rachel's testimony in these emails, we can prove Sarah's parents had no relationship with her. The court will see their claim for what it is, greed and spite. Ellie felt a flicker of hope, but it was tempered by dread. The hearing was in 2 days, and Sarah's parents were escalating. That afternoon, a process server arrived at the house, delivering a summons. They weren't just suing for Max and the house, they were demanding a full investigation into Ellie's fitness as Sarah's spouse, claiming she'd taken advantage of Sarah's illness. Mia cursed, crumpling the summons. "This is disgusting. They're trying to humiliate you." Ellie's hand shook as she read the accusations. Unstable. Manipulative. Words that cut deeper than any knife. She thought of Sarah, her laughter, her strength. "They can't take her from me," she whispered. "Not like this." Claire called, her voice urgent. "Don't let this shake you, Ellie. They're throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks. We've got the trust, Rachel, the witnesses. We're stronger than they think." That night, Ellie sat with Max, the journal open in her lap. She read Sarah's words again, tracing the ink with her fingers. One entry stood out, written during a hospital stay. "Ellie, you're my courage. If they come for you, remember who we were. Fight for us." Ellie's tears fell, but her resolve hardened. She wasn't just fighting for Max or the house. She was fighting for Sarah's truth, for their love. She called Rachel, who agreed to testify at the hearing. Mia rallied the witnesses, organizing their statements. The pieces were falling into place, but the battle was far from over. The next day, Ellie found a note slipped under her door. It was typed anonymous, but the words chilled her. "Give up the dog or you'll lose more than you think." Her blood ran cold. She showed it to Mia, who called Claire immediately. "This is intimidation," Claire said. "Keep it. It's evidence of their tactics." Ellie clutched Max's leash, her heart pounding. She looked into his eyes, steady and trusting, and thought of the secret in his collar. Sarah had known this would happen. She'd left Ellie a path, but it was a dangerous one. As the hearing loomed, Ellie felt the weight of Sarah's love and her parents' hatred closing in. She wasn't sure she could face it, but she knew she had to, for Sarah, for Max, for the life they'd built. The courthouse in Portland was a cold, imposing building, its marble floors echoing with every step. Ellie sat in the hallway, Max at her feet, his collar glinting under the fluorescent lights. Mia and Rachel flanked her, their presence a shield against the storm. Claire was inside, preparing for the hearing, her briefcase stuffed with Sarah's documents, Rachel's testimony, and the witnesses' statements. Ellie's heart pounded, each beat a reminder of what was at stake. Sarah's parents arrived, their lawyer, a slick man in a tailored suit, trailing behind. Margaret's eyes locked onto Ellie, sharp and unyielding. Robert's face was a mask of disdain. They didn't acknowledge Max, didn't even glance at him. To them, he was a pawn, not a living piece of Sarah's heart. Claire emerged, her expression calm but fierce. "We're ready," she said, squeezing Ellie's shoulder. "Stay strong. Sarah's with you." The courtroom was small, the air thick with tension. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, called the session to order. Sarah's parents' lawyer went first, painting a vicious picture of Ellie as a predator who'd manipulated a vulnerable Sarah for financial gain. He questioned their marriage, their life, even Ellie's character. Each word was a knife, twisting deeper. Ellie gripped Mia's hand under the table, her vision blurring. She wanted to scream, to tell the room how Sarah had chosen her, how they'd built a home filled with love. But Claire had warned her to stay silent, to let the evidence speak. Claire stood, her voice steady. "Your Honor, the petitioner's claims are baseless. Sarah Thompson created a trust, naming Ellie Harper as her beneficiary and guardian of their dog, Max. We have documents, witnesses, and testimony proving Sarah's intent and the strength of their relationship." She presented the trust, the emails, Rachel's letters. One by one, their witnesses took the stand. The Millers spoke of Sarah and Ellie's love, their voices breaking as they recalled the wedding. Tom described Sarah's joy, her pride in Ellie. Mrs. Carter, frail but fierce, recounted Ellie's devotion during Sarah's illness. Each story was a thread, weaving a tapestry of a life Sarah's parents couldn't erase. Rachel's testimony was the turning point. She spoke of Sarah's strength, Her defiance of her parents' bigotry, her love for Ellie. Sarah knew they'd come for everything, Rachel said, her voice clear. She trusted me to protect Ellie. That's why she sent me the trust. The judge's expression softened, but Sarah's parents' lawyer wasn't done. He produced a new document, a letter allegedly from Sarah, claiming she'd been coerced into the marriage. Ellie's heart stopped. It was a lie, a forgery. But the handwriting was close enough to fool someone who didn't know Sarah's soul. Claire objected, demanding a handwriting analysis. The judge agreed, but the damage was done. Doubt lingered in the room. Ellie felt it, a weight pressing her down. She looked at Max, his steady gaze grounding her. Sarah's note flashed in her mind. Max knows. That night, back at the house, Ellie couldn't shake the letter. It wasn't Sarah's. She knew every curve of her wife's handwriting, every quirk. But how could she prove it? She sat with Max, his collar in her hands, and noticed something she'd missed. A faint engraving inside the band, barely visible. Check the tag. Her heart raced. She'd already found the note in the tag, but had she missed something else? She examined it again, pressing every edge. A second compartment clicked open, revealing a tiny microchip. Her breath caught. She called Claire, who rushed over with a tech expert. The chip held a single file, a scanned copy of Sarah's real will, dated a week before her death, naming Ellie as her sole heir. It was notarized, undeniable. Claire's eyes lit up. This is it, Ellie. This is what Sarah meant. They can't fight this. The next day, Claire presented the chip in court. The judge ordered an immediate verification, and the room held its breath. Sarah's parents' lawyer faltered, his confidence cracking. The handwriting analysis came back, proving the letter was a forgery. The chip's will was authentic, its date and notarization airtight. The judge's ruling was swift. The trust and will are valid. Ellie Harper is the rightful beneficiary of Sarah Thompson's estate, including the dog, Max, and the property. The petitioner's claims are dismissed. Ellie's tears fell, relief flooding her. Mia hugged her, Rachel smiled, and Max nudged her hand. Sarah's parents stood, their faces pale, and left without a word. They'd lost not just the case but their daughter's legacy. Outside, Ellie knelt beside Max, her fingers brushing his collar. You kept her secrets, didn't you? She whispered. The weight of Sarah's love, her fight, settled over her. They'd won, but the victory was bittersweet. Sarah was still gone. The weeks after the hearing were a blur of quiet victories and lingering grief. Ellie returned to the house, now legally hers, but it felt emptier without Sarah's laughter. Max followed her everywhere, his collar a constant reminder of Sarah's foresight. Ellie framed the photo from the USB drive, Sarah writing in her journal on the porch, and hung it above the fireplace. It was a small act of defiance, a way to keep Sarah's presence alive. Mia and Rachel became fixtures in her life, their support unwavering. Rachel, now reconnected with Ellie, shared stories of Sarah's childhood, her stubborn streak, her love for animals, her quiet courage. She always knew who she was, Rachel said one evening, sipping coffee on Ellie's couch, even when they tried to break her. Ellie nodded, her fingers tracing the journal's cover. She'd read every page now, each entry a piece of Sarah's heart. Some were love letters to Ellie, others were plans, lists of lawyers, instructions for the trust, even a note about Max's favorite treats. Sarah had known her time was short, but she'd poured everything into protecting their life. Claire called regularly, tying up loose ends. Sarah's parents had retreated, their lawyer dropping the case after the forged letter was exposed. But Ellie couldn't shake the anonymous note from before the hearing. Give up the dog or you'll lose more than you think. She'd given it to Claire, who suspected it was a desperate ploy by Sarah's parents, but there was no proof. The threat lingered, a shadow over Ellie's victory. One morning, Ellie found a package on her doorstep. No return address, just a small box with a single photo inside. It was Sarah, young and smiling, with Max as a puppy. On the back, in unfamiliar handwriting, "She'd be proud of you." Ellie's heart raced. Was this Rachel? Someone else Sarah had trusted? She showed it to Mia, who frowned. We need to be careful. Someone's watching. Ellie installed a security system, her paranoia growing. She couldn't lose Max, not after everything. She started taking him everywhere, his leash a lifeline. At night, she'd sit with him, reading Sarah's journal, searching for clues. One entry stood out. "If anything happens, ask Tom about the box." Tom from the bookstore. Ellie hadn't thought of him since his testimony. She drove to his shop the next day, Max in tow. Tom's face lit up when he saw her. "Ellie, how's our hero?" She smiled faintly. "Tom," Sarah mentioned a box. "Do you know anything about it?" His expression shifted, a mix of surprise and sadness. "She told you, huh? Wait here." He disappeared into the back, returning with a small wooden box, carved with their initials, Escalating. "She gave me this a month before she passed. Said to give it to you if you asked." Ellie's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a locket, a photo of them inside, and a letter. Sarah's words were a whisper from the grave. "Ellie, you're stronger than you know. Keep Max close. He's our heart. If they try again, the locket will tell you what to do." Ellie opened the locket, her breath catching. Inside, behind their photo, was a tiny key. She didn't know what it unlocked, but Sarah's words echoed. "The locket will tell you." She called Claire, who suggested it might open a safe deposit box. They traced it to a bank in Portland, one Sarah had used for their savings. At the bank, Ellie's heart pounded as she opened the box. Inside was a deed, not just for the house, but for a small cabin in the mountains, a place Sarah had dreamed of escaping to. There was also a letter, addressed to the court, detailing Sarah's wishes. "Ellie is my family. Everything I have is hers." Ellie's tears fell as she read it. Sarah had thought of everything, even a sanctuary for her. The cabin was a fresh start, a place to heal. But the anonymous note still haunted her. She showed Claire the locket and letter, and Claire's eyes narrowed. This is Sarah's final move. She knew they'd never stop. That night Ellie dreamed of Sarah, her smile bright, her voice clear. "You're not alone, Ellie. Keep going." She woke with a new resolve. She'd protect their life, their love, no matter what came next. The cabin was nestled in the Cascade Mountains, a small wooden haven surrounded by pines. Ellie drove up with Max, Mia, and Rachel, the deed tucked safely in her bag. It was Sarah's final gift, a place where Ellie could rebuild. The air was crisp, the silence a balm after months of fighting. But the anonymous note still lingered in her mind, a shadow she couldn't shake. They spent the day exploring the cabin, its cozy fireplace, the porch overlooking a valley, the bedroom with a skylight for stargazing. Sarah's touch was everywhere. A quilt she'd loved, a photo of them pinned to the fridge. Ellie felt her wife's presence, a warmth that softened the ache in her chest. That evening they sat by the fire, Max curled at Ellie's feet. Rachel opened Sarah's journal, reading a passage aloud. "The cabin is for you, Ellie. Place to start again. Don't let them take your light." Ellie's eyes burned. Sarah had known she'd need this, a refuge from her parents' cruelty. Mia raised a glass of wine. "To Sarah. And to you, Ellie, for fighting." Ellie smiled, her first real smile in months. "To us," she said, her voice steady. "All of us." The next morning, Ellie found a letter in the cabin's mailbox, addressed to her in Sarah's handwriting. Her heart stopped. It was postmarked a year ago, sent to the cabin before Sarah's death. Inside was a single page. "Ellie, if you're here, you've won. The cabin is yours, our safe place. But be careful. My parents won't stop. The key in the locket opens a box under the floorboards. It's our last secret." Ellie's hands shook as she searched the cabin, Max following her every step. Under the bedroom floor, she found a small metal box, the key fitting perfectly. Inside was a collection of letters, photos, and a USB drive labeled, "For the Truth." She plugged it into her laptop, her breath catching as a new video loaded. Sarah's face appeared, weaker than in the first video but no less fierce. "Ellie, my love," she said. "If you're watching this, you've found the cabin. I'm so proud of you. My parents will never understand us, but you don't need them to. This drive has everything: my diaries, our story, proof of who we were. Share it if you need to. Live for us." The drive held years of memories, Sarah's diaries, videos of their life, letters to Ellie. It was a love story, raw and real, a testament to their bond. Ellie sobbed, Max nudging her hand. Sarah had given her everything, even in death. Claire arrived the next day, her eyes wide as she watched the video. "This is more than evidence," she said. "It's a legacy. If they come for you again, we'll make this public. The world will know who Sarah was." Ellie nodded, her heart full. She didn't need the world's approval, but she wanted Sarah's truth to live on. She decided to write their story, using Sarah's diaries and videos, a book to honor their love. It would be her way of fighting back, of showing the world what Sarah's parents tried to erase. Months later, Ellie stood in the cabin, Max by her side, as she finished the first draft. The anonymous note had stopped, the threats fading into silence. Sarah's parents had retreated, their power broken by the truth. Ellie looked out at the mountains, feeling Sarah's presence in the wind. She knelt beside Max, her fingers brushing his collar. "We did it, buddy," she whispered. "She's still with us." The cabin was her home now, a place of healing and hope. Ellie's grief would never fully fade, but Sarah's love was stronger. Through Max, the trust, the locket, the cabin, Sarah had given her a future. And Ellie would live it fiercely, for both of them.